Latinos are also more likely to live in urbanized areas where stronger and more prevalent heat waves will endanger health. According to the Sierra Club's Latino survey on the environment, 83% of Latino voters consider energy and environmental issues as having a significant impact in their quality of life and that of their families. And the majority of Latino voters believe that shifting to a new, clean energy economy could create millions of jobs, improve the quality of the environment, and protect everyone's children. Why are we doing this? Talk about the reality. Global warming is real, serious, and a growing problem. And Latino and other communities of color have been and will continue to be disproportionately and possibly discriminatorily affected by the public health, economic, and environmental consequences. Addressing this impact and ensuring that global warming does not disproportionately harm Latinos or other communities is commonly referred to as climate justice. It is critical that Latinos be included in all key policy formulation and decision-making efforts related to this issue. And we, the NLCCC, strongly believe and practice the fundamental environmental justice and civil rights principle that we seek for ourselves. Very important, we have sent that message in Congress. It is critical that leaders and experts, like all of you, including scientific and technical experts from the Latino community, have a seat at the table when crafting appropriate, effective, and culturally sensitive solutions for addressing climate change and its impact in our community. The Latino community needs resources, financial and others, so that they may in fact not only speak for ourselves, but also do for ourselves. In this and in any debate, it is vital for Latino organizations who best know and represent our community, who have the resources and the opportunity to conduct outreach and run programs of our own at the local, state, and national level to educate our community with culturally and linguistically relevant information. This is an issue of equity and access to economic opportunity. In tackling climate change and global warming by reducing emissions of harmful gases, there are opportunities we can embrace. The search for global warming solutions is already creating a wave of green jobs, green technology, green education, and green capital investment. And the Latino youth, CEOs, adult workforce, businesses, and entrepreneurs must have equal access to these funds and to the incentives and benefits associated with future efforts to take action on global warming. As we travel throughout the country informing Latinos about this issue, we understand that each community has their own unique experience of global warming and climate change, and therefore can and should provide first-hand testimony about how it is affecting their quality of life. Latinos must be given the opportunity to present our own testimony by our own experts in our own way for our own benefit. This is why the NLCCC stands committed to bringing together and working with Latino and other organizations, communities, and individuals who genuinely share and act in accordance with our principles and are committed to addressing disparities and opportunities related to global warming and climate justice. We are committed to legislation that will have positive impacts on the economic stability of Latino families that might be affected by high energy prices. As Congress debates the most effective policies for reducing carbon-based energy use, we are working with members of Congress to support explicit policies which will protect our most vulnerable communities from bearing the brunt of the constant policy changes and expand economic opportunity for their sake. Let me just real quick touch on some of our accomplishments. NLCCC continues to conduct climate change briefings like the one we're going to be holding after this leadership engagement all over the nation to inform the community about this very were honored to be joined by Congressman Ben Lujan, who chairs the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Task Force on Green Economy and Renewable Energy. During the October Senate hearings on the Clean Energy Jobs and American Power Act, we circulated a list of core policies that we consider imperative to the Latino community. And I hope that you have maybe some copies of that. If not, we will be more than happy to provide you what those are. We recently participated in the EPA's Beyond Translation Forum, where our Vice Chair, Jason Leon from LACLA, provided our point of view on key challenges that we face as we educate Latinos about environmental issues and the green jobs movement, discussing the distrust of government, language barriers, and the need for strong consumer protections and climate refund for low and moderate income families. All of those things are very, very essential that we talk about. So it remains top of mind for legislators. We are currently working in partnership with the Conservation Trust of Puerto Rico and the Sierra Club to engage the government of Puerto Rico in dialogue around the recent lifting of the nature reserve designation of the Northeast Ecological Corridor. We're very concerned about preserving land, and we have to make sure that we exert our leadership in things like that, and when politicians and when members of government make decisions that we know will impact the environment. In November, the NLCCC was asked to deliver opening remarks at the Senate Democratic Hispanic Task Force Forum entitled Ensuring Latinos Are Part of the Climate Change Debate, where we urge Senator Bob Menendez from New Jersey and Senator Barbara Boxer from California and others to ensure Latinos are not left out of the dialogue on climate change, renewable energy, and what's very, very important to them, green jobs, and of course, to us. We cannot stand aloof while this global problem jeopardizes the health and economic security of low-income and minority communities. We seek a holistic and pragmatic approach to climate change, global warming, renewable energy, and a green job dialogue that will allow low-income and minority communities to be an integral part of the transition to an environmentally friendly energy economy. So as you can see, we have a lot of information to get through tonight. I want to make sure that we have sufficient time, maybe for some questions and answers. Unfortunately, due to the fact that I'm not there, I'm going to actually ask Lillian to actually manage how we are going to have our speakers for our roundtable. But I want to make sure that if anybody has any questions, that maybe maybe a couple of minutes to ask anything of us. We also have Mark Magana, who is the Executive Director of NLCCC on the line here with us. He also wasn't able to get out of D.C. in order to be there with you guys, and I'm sure that Mark also regrets not being there. But other than that, Lillian, if there's anybody that has any questions that we can address real quick, if not, then I think we should move on to start with our speakers.
Yeah, I think absolutely. That would be a great idea. I'm going to ask our speakers if they could really try to limit the comments and your presentations to about 5 minutes each. We have a very good group here, and I think it would be important for people to have an opportunity to ask questions to Rafael and Mark about what's happening in Washington, D.C. as it relates to the legislation, what's happening in terms of green jobs and the green legislation that's coming out as a result of the stimulus package, and also, what's the impact and the opportunities that it presents for North Carolina. I mean, Rafael went over a lot of things in his remarks. To me, it just kind of boils down to 3 key bullet points. It's about the consumption of resources, and whether or not we're engaging communities, particularly the Latino and the African American community, at the right levels around the consumption of these resources. It's really about whether or not we've introduced sustainable practices to these communities, and I mean, that'll come out more as we do have our presentations. And obviously the economy and the economic opportunities that are presented by the focus on climate change and green jobs. So on that note, I'm going to introduce Nolo Martinez, who is to my left. I flew in today. I don't know which right, left, up and down, But anyway, Nolo is a Puerto Rican native. I assume when he says that, that means he was actually born in Puerto Rico versus those people Exactly, the New Yorkers like me, what a distinction. He's currently a research scientist at the Bryan School of Business and Economics at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. He also serves as the Assistant Director for Research and Outreach Center for New North Carolinians. In 1998, North Carolina Governor James B. Hunt appointed Dr. Martinez as the first Director of Hispanic and Latino Affairs for the state of North Carolina, and it's a position he served in for 6 years. He's had a number of positions focused on working with immigrant groups, and he's going to join us today to discuss a report, The State of Latinos in North Carolina, the opportunities and challenges that environmental conditions present for Latinos in the state of North Carolina. Thank you.